What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Sideline Sports, the flagship show of the network. Filling in for our friend Jake Malik, your man Eric Wilson from the Sports Arena, but of course, the face of Sideline Sports, Mr. Jon Shearer is in the building, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the icon. This is the main eventer, our man JB Ellis. Gentlemen, what's good? What's going on? How are you?
Doing good. Another day.
Jon Shearer, you're quiet. That scares me.
You killed it last night, JB. Oh, man, those pictures, and you were just everywhere at the draft.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. A lot of dreams were made last night.
The one guy, I believe, I believe the Dallas Wings pick, you were right by the table, and he gave you the dirtiest look in that picture. Like, are you serious right now? When you took that picture, it was so great. I was looking.
Oh, was it with me when I got yelled at where I wasn't supposed to be there?
He gave me the look. Like, what are you doing, man?
Listen, if you don't tell me where I'm supposed to go, I'm gonna assume that I got the credential. I can go wherever I want. If you tell me not to go there, I will not go there, because I'm going to respect your organization. As soon as they told me not to go there, I went away.
That guy right there. He gave you that dirty look, like
Emily's father, I'm sure. Listen, this was a huge moment for her and the other 35 other women who were blessed to now play at the next level, on the professional level. And again, shout out to our man JB. These pictures were all from JB last night.
They're fantastic.
This brother was putting in work. The commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, who put on a phenomenal show last night from top to bottom. A huge shout out to the entire organization for what they were doing. This was actually her first live draft.
Really?
Yes, because she came in between 2019 and 2020.
Okay.
So when she took over as commissioner, we had hit the pandemic.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so this was her first live draft for her. So
I already think she's better than Rob Manfred. I think she's better than Roger Goodell.
I mean,
you're Adam Silver.
You're starting out with the deck being the two lowest. Right
I'm
away.
just saying those sports are pretty high-profile sports, and she's a better commissioner than the people in those sports.
It doesn't take much to be better than those two.
But yeah, again, the pictures that you're seeing right here, all by our main man JB, who was at the Silver Studios in New York City. So JB, I'm gonna take this down for a sec, but just give us a sense of the what the atmosphere was like in there last night, man.
So it was a great event. The commissioner did a great job. They talked about Brittany Griner a little bit, how their thoughts and prayers are with her. They're doing everything they can to help her in a situation in Russia, which I thought was great that they addressed that right from the start. Top notch event. I've been to the NFL draft before years ago. I thought that the WNBA did just as good a job as the NFL has done. Just less people at the WNBA draft as opposed to the NFL, but I thought that the event itself was comparable. The young women that were drafted, being in their press conferences, all had some great things to say. They all looked like they were ready to step up and move up to that next level, and that they are ready to deal with the media. I thought the PR people were phenomenal. They did a great job spreading the questions around, which sometimes is a bit harder at some of these events. Just all in all, a great event from start to finish, and a lot of people with some dreams that were made. And the Fever in Indiana got 4 of the first 10 picks. I mean, they're going to have a young team with a lot of young women that are going to be hungry to play.
Yeah, and John and I touched on this last night. He made an excellent point when we were doing the live draft just here on the Sideline Sports social media pages. The core nucleus, in the first 4 of the 10 picks, you have 2 forwards, a guard, and a center. You're basically creating the next group of young women who could potentially make this team a force in the WNBA. And so, but the key component, I said it last night and I'll say it again, is keeping them together. If they have the opportunity, Indiana Fever can do that, then I think in 2 to 3 years, this team is a team that we'll be talking about. So I want to share with everybody. So again, putting in work, JB had a chance to interview. I want everybody to hear this interview piece.
In the 4th row. Congratulations, Destiny.
Thank you.
JB Ellis, Sideline Sports. Can you give us what Coach Staley advised you about the transition to the WNBA?
I just feel like, what she's been preaching to the University of South Carolina basketball team all year long is keeping the main thing, like not letting anything deter your future or what set goals that you have for yourself. Just to stay positive and, to fight for what you want in life.
So yeah, I mean,
Great job.
great job.
I thought the Liberty did great with their pick as well, getting Savali out of Oregon, teaming her back with Ionescu. I thought that was a great pick.
And really, only Los Angeles, they were really one of the only ones that made questionable picks. I mean, from what we talked about last night, experts like Megan, who thought that it was a little bit of a reach. I trust her opinion. So, that was the only team that we had really talked about that had potentially made a reach in the first round. Everybody else was kind of like, we expected it or as a really good pick, except LA was like, maybe you could have waited.
Burrell had a knee injury last year. It kind of slowed her down the whole season. Before that, she was a force. So, I'm sure they worked her out and they had their medical staff look at her. So, you got to trust your medical staff when you're in the draft when something like this happens.
Just
but I definitely understand what you're saying.
At that spot, when you have somebody that's coming off of a big injury like that, and there were so many great players that went after her that easily could have went right at that spot. I feel like, Megan and Raylan had mentioned it last night that it could very easily be a reach because of all the great players that went right after her with the injury history. You could definitely make a case that they should have went in a different direction.
Yeah, and the one thing that, and Raylan, he loves his Sparks. He loves him some Liz Cambage, the Agumake sisters, he is a fan. And so he was like, Kirsten Bell, she fell to the Sparks, and the Sparks decided not to go with her.
I don't understand
And
that.
so that was the head scratcher for him. He was like, there was a need right there that this young woman was going to be able to fill and have an instant impact for the Sparks. And, Derek Fisher, the coaching staff, the organization decided to go in a different direction. Now, like you said, John, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But, as Coach Cheryl Reeves said last night in the post-draft press conference, she said, as media, when these mock drafts come out, we are only really, as media, as journalists, we're only entitled or we're only privileged to certain information. We don't get to go back behind the curtain and really see what the mindset is of the coaching staff, of the team, of the organization, the general manager, so on and so forth. So I think in her best professional way possible, she was like, these mock drafts are great, but you have to take them with a certain level of, this is just what the outsiders think the team needs and the direction they might go. We don't have that inside information with regard to the coaching, again, to say, oh, well, this person might actually be a better fit for us based on what we know. It's kind of like what we do here with Sideline Sports. It's like, there's a lot of information that the three of us and Jake and certain others, we know that information. And we know the type of character and the type of individual that we want as part of our network. Now, where other people might say, hey, maybe you should go this direction. Okay, well, you might be right. However, that's our curtain. You know what I'm saying? We know the type of people that we want to work with. And so I think that's the analogy that I like to use, especially when it comes to drafts such as this. I mean, again, shout out to Megan, shout out to Mike, Jon Shearer, JB. Amazing event last night. I think, John, you said by 10 o'clock last night, we had almost 600 views. So shout out to everybody who watched us last night when we were doing it.
Yep. Yeah, it was a great night. Thanks to Fox Sports for helping host our show as well. Fox Sports 1340, who I freelance for. So, we have a lot of great content, though, in addition to the WNBA, which was fantastic last night. We have a lot of great content as well to get to tonight.
Oh yeah. So really quick, let's take a break and show some love to the rest of our show since we're talking about them. Come back and talk a little NBA because the play-in games are in. They're going on right now. One team is basically shellacking the others, and the other team is going to start in a minute. But more with Sideline Sports in just a moment. Can I just say before we get started back here tonight on Sideline Sports, I love y'all's intro music.
Thank you.
I'm mad that y'all got it before I did because I love that intro music. Like I thought my intro music was on point, but that little dun dun dun. I mean, like that is like whenever automatically Sideline Sports.
Big shout out to Mark Berry, AMG Sony for that. Letting us use that music.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. All right, Jon Shearer. The play-in tournament has officially started, my brother, and well, it looks like what we said last night is coming to fruition. The Brooklyn Nets. And before we go any further, I do want to take a moment. I called or I texted JB today along with Jake and several other people in the New York, Brooklyn area. I wanted to make sure that y'all were okay because I know there was a huge, just unbelievable event that took place. People were injured. People were shot today. The suspect, from my understanding, is a person of interest. They have released a photo, but they say he is a person of interest. But to anybody who was injured by what took place today, this man threw a smoke grenade into the subway, and there were people rushing out of the train, and 10 people, I think 13 is the number that I saw just most recently. 13 people were shot and injured.
Gosh.
We just want to take a moment and, prayers, strength,
send
healing.
Our condolences, to everybody.
Yes. Because
amazingly, I haven't heard of anyone being killed, which is in itself a miracle.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Thankfully on that. So, I was talking about that earlier. It's a scary thing, first of all, when you're on the subway. You're in an enclosed space. Crazy things can happen. New York City subway, listen, when I was a young kid back in the day, was a crazy place. They cleaned it up. Some people say it's getting worse again. I don't know. I don't take the subways, luckily. But
so that's not a normal Tuesday on the subway.
No.
Right.
And,
just checking.
Luckily,
sure.
Thankfully, nobody was killed. And, it's just a shame. I saw it was on ESPN too. So, they were talking about 2 miles from Barclays Center. Not really that close. It's in a different part of Brooklyn, but still close enough, and I know that they were beefing up security measures. Maybe that, that's a good thing. You always want to make sure you take safety into account. And like I said, thankfully nobody was killed. Hopefully everyone gets better soon, and prayers to the family and people involved in this.
So, awkward transition. I think that if the Cavaliers can get within 10, they cut it down to 12. It keeps going from about 17. I'm watching it
now
to 12, and they cut it down. If they can get it to 10, I think they have a shot. But right now, Kyrie is 11 for 11 tonight shooting, 28 points, 8 assists.
Well,
Durant only has 14 points, but he does have 11 assists, and Drummond has chipped in with 16 big points, 8 boards. So I mean, Kyrie's really just dominated this game. They haven't been able to stop him. But the Cavs are keeping it a little bit close because, I mean, they're only down by 12. I don't think they can do it, but you have a shot if you can keep it right around 10 points going into the fourth because there's about a minute left in the third. That's my thinking is you give yourself a shot.
You ever get the impression that the Nets are just like the cat playing with the string of yarn? Like, you have no shot at catching them. Why bother? You know, you put yourself down 17 points. You're going to fight back.
But you know how
Durant's gonna
sports
step
work.
up and-
You know how
Durant's
sports
gonna
work,
step up.
JB. If you give yourself a little bit of hope.
It's not
Remember the
Cavs
Boston
year.
Red Sox in 2004?
It's not. They were a really good team.
They
You
gave
said
themselves a
the
little
Cavs
bit of
are not
hope,
a-
JB.
The Cavs are not a really good team.
I'm just very surprised looking at the stat sheet, John, that Seth Curry, no points tonight. No points.
None.
Like, is he saving himself for Philadelphia to have like this monstrous series if it comes to Brooklyn and Philly?
Well,
Like-
if they win, they go to Boston, right?
Right. He's got 1 rebound and 1 steal. He's played 21 minutes and has a goose egg. Like,
Which, I
Dragic
mean-
has 3 points. Claxton has 4. Patty Mills has 6. And then you did talk about, Drummond and Durant and
Drummond's
Irving.
really stepped up. That's big, those 16 points, because
16
Durant
and
and
8,
Kyrie
about to have
can't
a
do
double-double.
everything.
minutes. In 18
Yeah.
minutes, he's got 16
Yeah,
points.
exactly.
Yeah, he's been exactly what they wanted when they got him. This is what they need out of him.
I'm just very surprised at the goose egg that is Seth Curry. Now, maybe in the fourth quarter, he'll wake up and be like, oh, I got to close this out for the team. But
So I think that if the Nets win this, I think the Nets got a better matchup with the Celtics losing their star defender, losing him to an injury, and he might be back for the second round. There's a possibility. So them getting the Celtics in the first is a godsend because you avoid the Bucks, and the Celtics are a little bit wounded, and you're coming off this win. If you win, we're assuming they're going to win. If they do, then you're coming off a nice win, gives you momentum. I think the Celtics are a much better matchup for the Nets if they're going to advance to the second round because I don't think the Bucks wanted the Nets, and I don't think the Nets wanted the Bucks. I don't think they wanted each other, at least in the first round.
Interesting.
I don't know.
And the Bucks got what they wanted, Eric.
Is it a first round matchup that the people want to see? No. But if that's how it falls, then that's how it falls. You know what I'm saying? Like, we watch some of these games and we're like, oh, why is this in the first round? This should be an Eastern Conference or a Western Conference final or maybe a second round matchup. How did we get to this point? It's a great series and it's in the first round. We're, as fans, we're losing out. No, you're not losing out because you get to watch it. Doesn't matter when it is.
And I mean, we got. Sorry, JB, go on.
No, I think the bigger point of this whole thing is how teams really don't care about the play-in game. That they're resting their guys. They're not concerned. This has been a flop. It's not like the wild card of baseball where teams are fighting to get that playoff spot. Where in baseball, you play double the amount of games as the NBA almost, and you're playing for one game. Where the NBA, it's half the games and home court is so huge. Baseball being at home doesn't really matter as much.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm kind of shocked to see that, the teams haven't embraced it and are fighting to try and get into that play-in game.
And the Bucks did. I think it's clear to me that the Bucks tanked to get to that third spot, avoid the Nets. We talked about it last night. They avoided the Nets, and they get what, in my opinion, is the worst team out of the top 6. No offense to the Bulls, but they're not the team that they were when they were really, really hot, when DeRozan was on fire and, an MVP candidate. Like, they're not quite the same team. I know they've been banged up, but I just don't think they're quite the same team, and I think that they're wounded. And, I mean, I said last night, I think the Bucks are going to hurt them. I think the Bucks got exactly what they wanted, avoiding the Nets and getting the Bulls. They avoid the Raptors, too, because the Raptors will be a tough matchup, too, for the Bucks.
The play-in game needs to go away. Okay. Yeah. It was fine during the bubble. It was fine for the year after. But now that we're back and there's a full 82 game season, the play-in game needs to go away. It's the top 8. And if you ask me, I still hold very true to this. It should be, if you don't have a winning record, you should not be allowed in the postseason.
Yep.
For basketball.
Yep.
All right. I'm like we've got 500 teams or below 500 teams, 480, 490, whatever the percentage is getting into the playoffs.
Horrible.
And it's like,
It's horrible.
Spurs
No.
won
You don't
what,
belong in the playoffs.
35 games? Is it 35 the Spurs won or something
35,
like that?
36, whatever it
like-
was. Yeah. And they got the play in. I've just never been a fan of it. I understood the reasoning behind it for the bubble. I understood the reasoning behind it for a shortened season. I don't understand it for this. So again, I think they need to go back to the drawing board, the owners meeting, and say, okay, the playing game is now done. Let's go back to what we had.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, I think will then put that level of, competitiveness back on there. I mean, because look, we all here at Sideline Sports can go back 6-7 years, probably even longer than that. There were teams in the Western Conference with 48 wins, and they weren't getting into the playoffs.
Yep.
There were Western Conference teams with 50 wins, and you weren't getting to the playoffs. That's how competitive the Western Conference was at one point. A 60-win season was an expectation. It was something that you had to have if you wanted to make it to the next round. And I mean, shout out to our man, Denzel chiming in talking about 2010 Seahawks. Exactly. They had a 7-9. It's just one of those things where I'm like, no.
I mean, the what Washington football team won, not this past season, but the season before, they had a playoff game against Tampa Bay, who eventually won the Super Bowl. They won 7 games to win the division. They got a home playoff game. Like that's the equivalent of, like what the Spurs are doing, like record wise to me. It's, you're so far below 500 that it's just embarrassing and you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. I think you're right, Eric. In any of these sports, I think if you're not at least at 500, I don't think you should be in the playoffs.
Right.
Even if you win your division, like you should not be in the playoffs.
Agreed.
There should be some sort of precedent. You know what I mean?
Right. But, the rules are the rules. And I mean, but back to what we were talking about with the Nets and the Cavaliers, it is the end of the third. And, John, they're at 12. So
12. They have a shot.
They always have a shot, John. We've seen 25-point leads go.
Well, when it was at 17, it was all but a done deal. But slowly slicing into the lead, you give yourself that sliver of hope and you start to believe a little more and a little more. And if you keep cutting the lead a little more, then doubt starts creeping into the Nets' heads, and you know what I mean? Like that's kind of how this works.
Can you imagine what the storyline would be tomorrow if somehow the Cleveland Cavaliers come out of this with a W? Can you just imagine?
Did any of you watch the Masters on Sunday?
Of course I did.
Okay. No. Remember when Smith hit that shot and I started messaging? I was like, yo, like he has a shot at this thing. When he hit that shot, the crowd erupted. And then the next hole, he triple bogeyed. Like before that triple bogey, you could tell like he started to believe I have a shot at this thing. He started to think about it. And then Scheffler was starting to get nervous, but then he plunked it into the water. Smith did, and then it was all over. But he started to believe. Smith started to believe, and Scheffler started to get into his head like, oh, crap, like I was up big, and now this guy just hit a huge shot, So that's my point is you never know in sports. Like once you start believing a little bit, that's all it takes.
Well, these are all professionals. They shouldn't have to believe. They should know that they can win.
Shouldn't, but
I mean, we're going to play that argument. That's pretty sad. If you don't think
it's when you go up against like a giant, though. When you go up against a giant, JB, like
you're in the NBA.
How many times in sports? How many times in sports do you hear a story where like a team started to believe? You know what I mean? Like a team, like Philly, like when they were down 7-0 to Minnesota in the conference championship. Like I thought it was over. I was like, Philly's going to lose. Like they're dead. Like this is how the game's going to go. You know what I mean? And then they
rattle off 38 points.
Yeah, and they did that. And Minnesota was the better team, but Philly they just got one, and then it started to roll, and then it was like it just snowballed.
Once you make it that far, the whole belief thing, listen, you're good enough to be in the league. You're good enough to beat anybody. Doesn't mean you're better. But you shouldn't need to believe it. You should just know it. Play your best, and you have a shot.
While I'm inclined to agree with you, JB, I've got to side with Jon Shearer on this one, and I don't do it that often, but I think it is a game of you know that you're physically capable, and you have the skill set to do what is being asked of you. Do you have the mental capacity to stay focused?
That's the
Do you
problem.
have the emotional capability to be able to always exude confidence no matter whether you're up 12 or down 15? I think
agree.
that comes into play.
I'll agree with you on that. And I think that's the difference between guys that are unbelievable and guys that are good. Superstars and, starters. Because the superstar goes out there, they'll be playing against the better superstar, but they don't care. They'll go out there and have a great game because they're going to have a great game.
Right.
Doesn't matter. But you're all right. I mean, guys just don't have that killer instinct.
Not anymore. And that's, as a fan of sports, and we love what we do, I miss that, man. I miss that killer instinct. But
that Mamba mentality, like that cold-blooded, like that. I miss that. Like, I've been telling people this forever, and I love that you said that, Eric. Like, I hate that players are friends on the field. You can be friends off the field, but like Kobe Bryant didn't like anybody on the court. Like it wasn't his job to be your friend. It was his job to go out and take out the other team. He didn't want to be your buddy. He didn't want to play around with you. He wanted to take you out. And then off the court, yeah, sure, we can be buddies, stuff like that. And me, on a side note, I hate jersey swaps. I don't think that you should be buddy like that. I don't want your jersey unless that's my way of saying I own you. That's the only way I want to own your jersey. Kind of like whenever you get a buck or a doe or whatever, you shoot that thing.
So you think whoever wins the game should just get all the other jerseys? Forget the swap. If you lose, you gotta come out to midfield or half court, give away your jersey, and be gone. Go to the locker room's jersey list.
I want to snatch your jersey like Crabtree got his chain snatched from, his soul taken by Keith Talib. That's what I want.
So in a guy's locker room, he's going to have all the jerseys of, all the players that he's basically beat down. If you're a DB,
that's what I would do.
You've got nothing but wide receiver jerseys hanging up in your locker room to show, yep, I took him out. I took him out. I took him out. I took him out. Damn sure took him out twice.
I'd ask the owner to build me a whole closet just for me. So that way I could put all the players that I owned. It'd be like a defensive back. All the receivers I owned, go to that closet and just hang them up. Jersey after jersey after jersey. That's what I would do. That's alpha dog mentality right there.
Okay. All right. So, John, let's talk about
10-point
MJB,
game, by the way.
Let's talk about the Clippers and the Timberwolves, the game that's coming up next. Starting as soon as we, Sideline Sports, get off the air here at 9:30. But, John, Clippers and Timberwolves. Clippers 42-40, Timberwolves 46-36, and still have to have this play-in game. What do you think, brother?
First of all, it's stupid that the Timberwolves have to be in the same. They have to be in the same stratosphere as the Spurs. Spurs won 35 games, and the Timberwolves are really good all season, and the Timberwolves have an opportunity to miss the actual playoffs, and a team like the Spurs have an opportunity to actually make the playoffs. I think that's stupid. It's an atrocity. Now, obviously, you still got to play the games. You got to do what you got to do. That's how the rules work. But I just think it's absolutely absurd that the Timberwolves have a chance to be knocked out of this thing after how great of a season they've had. I believe they won 46 games, 7-point game. Cleveland's down. Told you, JB, just cut it a little by little. You have an opportunity. But anyway, the Timberwolves.
It's over, John.
Let me drop you a little knowledge, Eric Wilson, because
sure.
I've been saying this. The Memphis Grizzlies, if they get the Timberwolves, bye-bye Memphis Grizzlies. They have no shot at beating the Timberwolves. You heard it here first. The Timberwolves are going to knock them out if they play. Memphis Grizzlies, everybody loves them. They're going to get beat by the Timberwolves. That's a team I think is really going to do some damage. They're going to shake this whole Western Conference up.
The only issue, John, is the Timberwolves are playing the Clippers, and the Timberwolves are going to destroy the Clippers tonight. It's not even going to be a game.
So if they do that, then they go and play Memphis.
And that's going to be an interesting series, Memphis against the Timberwolves. I actually want to see that.
Yeah.
It's going to be enjoyable.
And we don't
And
know
John,
I'm sorry, go
you're giving the Spurs one extra game. They only
Oh.
won 34.
34. Oh, I'm so sorry.
So there's a 12 game differential between the 10th seed and the number 7 seed. And this again just goes to show why I am not a fan of the play-in game, because the San Antonio Spurs love Greg Pop, love what he's done, 5 championships, produced 2 of the greats in Tim Duncan and also David Robinson. You know, I respect what he's done, had the opportunity alongside our brother, Mr. Alex Fleming, to, you know, interview the great Greg Popovich. So I get it, but 34-48, and you have an opportunity to be the number 8 seed? Like, really? Like,
You lost
I'm
almost
just
50 games and you're in a play-in tournament?
right.
That's insane.
Right.
And yeah, they're gonna win.
The Spurs are
They're
going
gonna
to beat the Pelicans? That's what
I
you're
think
saying?
so.
Yeah, it's gonna be a close game, but they're gonna win.
Okay. So then
6-point
that-
game.
There
I
you
just
go.
want this drama. I want this drama. I want it to come down. 9-point game. I want it to come down to the wire. That's what I want. I love the drama.
It's
Go.
over. Look, they got close. Durant hits the 3. This is what I'm telling you. The kitten with the yard. Stop getting in your head that they have a shot. The only people that should believe they have a shot are the Cleveland Cavaliers. Everybody else knows it's over.
Okay, I
Wow,
love
we have
the
a
drama.
prediction for tomorrow night's game. Spurs 112, the Pelicans 108.
It's gonna be something like that.
Okay.
Spurs are gonna win.
All right. I'm trying to see if I can find really quick what the so yeah, it's 226 is the total. The spread is Spurs plus 5.5.
Yep.
Okay.
They're gonna win by at least 3. 4 sounds good from Denzel over there.
So then the first round matchup would be Megan Price's San Antonio Spurs versus Mike Caratenuto's Phoenix Suns. John, do you and I want to be around?
If the Spurs win and the Timberwolves win, the Spurs and Clippers would have to play for the 8th seed. That's how that would work. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think the Clippers would mop the floor with them because PG is back and he'll make the difference in that game. That's just what I think would happen if they end up playing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it'll be interesting to see.
But let's go down that rabbit hole for a second, John. Megan Price's San Antonio Spurs versus Mike Caratenuto's Phoenix Suns. Do you want to be a part of that conversation?
Good luck, guys. I'm glad I'm not involved in that.
I would just say, like, I would feel bad when the Suns absolutely mop the floor with them. I mean, Megan's going to be really devastated, and Mike's going to rub it in her face really bad. So, no, I don't want that to happen because it'd be really awkward.
I wonder which, and I guess we'll have to ask her at a later time. Does she want to lose to the Clippers, knowing that Kawhi might be a factor, or PG, or does she want to have to listen to Mike in the first round of the playoffs?
I think she'd rather listen to Mike, honestly. She hates Kawhi.
Fair
she
enough.
Hates Kawhi like she hates Andy Dalton.
Wow. Yeah, she's got a laundry list. Shout out to our Queen of Hoops. She's got a laundry list.
Who likes Andy Dalton? Can I get a list of people that like Andy Dalton? I guarantee it's not going to be very many.
She loathes that.
It's not that I hate the brother. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think he's all right. I mean,
he's just annoying.
He never played for Philly, so I ain't got no beef with him. I mean,
he's never a threat to you.
Right. He's never been a threat to me, so.
I don't know. He's just something about him. He's unlikable. I would put him in John's punchable face category.
That's
and
fair.
I don't buy into that list.
Okay.
I'd put him on.
All right, so we've got Minnesota beating the Clippers tonight. Yes? Or are we saying the Clippers are going to beat the Timberwolves?
At Minnesota.
All right, let's go to tomorrow's games. Charlotte and Atlanta.
I like Charlotte, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I think LaMelo is going to show up, and I think it's just going to be an interesting game. It's going to be close, but I think he's going to be the darling of the first round this year.
Okay. Jon Shearer?
I think the Hawks are going to kill him. I mean, the Hawks have been playing really well. down the stretch, and I just don't think Charlotte's a good team. I think the Hawks are going to knock them right out the playoffs. Cavs are going to get knocked down to that game for the 8th seed, and the Hawks are going to beat them. And the Cavs, who once looked promising towards the beginning of the season, will not even make the playoffs.
Okay. I am going to, again, it must be Tuesday because I'm siding with John. Mondays and Wednesdays, John, we do not get along. But for whatever reason tonight, I feel you. I feel like Atlanta with Trae Young and that entire crew, I think they had a taste of what it was like to make a deep run into the postseason. And even though they finished, with the 43-39 record, I feel like they want to get back. They want to make some noise. They want to disrupt what we're saying these top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference are going to be. I think Atlanta wants to remind people who they are and what they're capable of. So I guess we'll find out. And then again, we all said it, Spurs over the New Orleans Pelicans. That's a team that I really want to see what they do this offseason. I'm not sure about the contract situation with Zion Williamson, but to me, it appears as though I think his time is slowly up. And in an ideal setting, I believe he wants to come play in New York. So
little mini Duke going up there.
Yeah.
It's such a
It'll be
disappointment.
interesting.
We haven't really got to see this guy as a talent in the NBA. It's so disappointing. I mean, we're all waiting for, getting you know what I mean? We're all waiting to get to actually see him play, and we really haven't gotten to see it.
I really wonder, how bad is it in New Orleans that people just don't want to play there in the NBA. They just can't keep stars happy.
Well, Anthony Davis was there for a long time. Zion just got there. He's been injured most of the time. He hasn't done anything. At least AD was you know what I mean? AD made a name for himself in the NBA. He was already named before that, but in the NBA, he established himself. Zion hasn't done that. Zion hasn't even really played. So I'm of the mindset of how can you demand a trade and want to be out of there when you haven't done anything for the organization? You've been hurt. You've been overweight. You've been a blimp.
To be clear, he hasn't demanded a trade yet. That's what everyone's saying.
Right.
But it doesn't look good. The whole, the word I like to use, optics. The optics of the situation are not good. And they did well this year to get into the play-in game, but.
I mean, the CJ McCollum addition was what made the difference for them getting in.
Yeah, it's a shame that they can't get their thing together and keep guys happy.
Yeah. All right, gents, let's take another break. When we come back, we're going to get into a topic because someone decided to open up their mouth and make a statement that has a lot of people talking, including all of us here at Sideline Sports. We'll be back in a moment.
Connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Trazer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Trazer.
So I'm not one of these dudes to be like, bro, I'm gutter, I'm this, I'm that. Man, I had a perfect example of what a man was in my life by my father. Mm-hmm. My parents has been together for 36, 37 years now, and it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a 3-parent household, my mom, my father, and my grandmother. And I knew what a woman was, not a bad bitch.
Okay, what's the difference?
A woman.
Okay. A
bad bitch is a person who's just, girl, I'm a bad bitch. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I look the part, but I don't act the part.
Okay.
And it's a lot of women who are bad bitches. And I say bitches in a way, not to degrade a woman, but just to go off the aesthetic of what they deem is a boss chick. Now, a woman for me is handling your own, but knowing how to cater to a man's needs, right? And I think a lot of times when you get that aesthetic of like, I'm a boss bitch, like I'm a this, I'm a that. No, baby, like, but you can't cook.
Okay.
You don't know when to be quiet. You don't know how to allow a man to lead.
Now, a lot of women.
So, welcome back to Sideline Sports. What you just saw was Cam Newton on $1 million worth of game. And those were the comments that he made that have a lot of people. He ruffled some feathers. He said some things that I think may have been taken out of context. But at the end of the day, when you are a prolific athlete, when you are someone who is constantly in the spotlight, when you are a celebrity, when you are well known, it is one thing to speak your mind. It's another thing to know your audience. And Cam Newton just, I'm going to be as polite as I can be when I say this. The brother screwed up. And I don't think no amount of apology, if there is one to come down the pike, is going to be sincere, is going to be real, is going to be genuine. I really feel like that's how Cam Newton feels. And it's going to be, I mean, the media is already all over it. I know there are many, many females who are straight dogging him right now. I just don't know how he bounces back from this. But again, he might not even care. I don't know. I don't know Cam. So, but gentlemen, I'm going to defer to you on this one because
I have to ask you, did you find the second clip?
The second clip? No, sir, I did not.
Okay, so the second clip should be on that tweet, should be in the comments. He kind of clarified more, gave more clarity in what he was saying, because I didn't want to overreact and just be like, well, Cam Newton's an idiot. Like, I didn't think that was fair, so I listened to what he said over and over and just kind of tried to understand what he was trying to get across. Maybe he didn't get it across kind of the way he wanted to, but I tried to listen to what he was saying. You know what I mean? As opposed to just reacting prisoner of the moment. And I listened to the second video, and me personally, I have no problem with it because he was telling you how he was raised, what he saw from his mom and dad for, you know what I mean? For 36, 37 years, he said they're married, and he saw the way their marriage was. You know what I mean? He saw it was kind of like an old school marriage where, you know what I mean, or the father, the husband leads the way, and then the wife is kind of like second. Which I know today, 2022, it's different, but I respect that. That's what he grew up with, and that's what he believes in. He wasn't saying this is how it has to be. He was just giving you a vantage point of, hey, I saw my mom and dad raise me this way and treat each other this way, and this is how they went about their marriage, and this is what I believe in. So I have no problem with it. I respect his stance. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily, but I do respect that he's just telling you he's not knocking women. You know what I mean? He explained that he's not demeaning women. He's not saying anything bad like that. He's just giving you his perspective and his opinion and what his experiences. That's it.
He's demeaning a portion of women that he would call the bad bitches, as he quoted. He definitely is. He's putting them down. Is it okay to put bad bitches down? Why not? What does it make a difference? He's not saying all women are like that.
No.
So I do agree with you on that. I do think some of his thoughts are a little out there. I don't necessarily think that a woman has to get out of the way and let a man lead. In each situation, there's a time for me to lead and there's a time for my woman to lead. So there's times I got to get out of the way and let her take charge. It all depends on the situation. Don't always think that I got to take the lead. That's not right in my relationship. If it works for Cam, great for him.
And the great thing is, JB, that's how your relationship is, and that's your thought process. And then he has his, and that's okay. Like, both are fine. There's nothing wrong with, you know what I mean? As long as both sides are as long as both the woman and the man are happy with it.
And that's why I said I listened to what he said, and he didn't put down all women. He put down a particular percentage of women that he would call bad bitches. That that was his quote. That's what he was calling them.
Yeah.
So he didn't say what percentage of women it is. He didn't say all women are that. He said that there is a percentage of them. Well, he didn't say a percentage, but that's kind of what he means. That there's a percentage of them that act that way, and that's about his type. So it's all good. I don't think he went out there and said all women don't know how to cook, which I've seen on Twitter. All women don't know how to keep a household. He didn't say any of that.
No, he didn't say any of that.
Do I agree with his mindset? Hell no. I wouldn't want to live my life that way. But Cam is Cam. If he's happy, good for him. But I will tell you, the type of interview that was, it's kind of like when we have a guest here. You get how they really feel because it's a conversation. It's not, in the locker room, a 3-second clip, why'd you throw this pass or what happened with this? It's an actual conversation. You get to know Cam, and that's, his true thoughts. So I don't think an apology is necessary from what I've heard, but I do think that the media and the public do like to go after people.
Yeah.
That we always want to have something to talk about. We want to make a situation, and this is much to do about nothing.
Yep.
But Cam's got to, if he doesn't want to be in that conversation, got to do a better job choosing your words and what you say.
And I think that's it right there. That's the nail on the head right now. That's the nail in the coffin. Being who you are, again, being an athlete, being a man who's been to the Super Bowl, being a black quarterback, okay, you're already faced with so much adversity on a day-to-day basis, minute by minute, hour by hour. And I get it when you around us, and when I say us, I mean people who look like me. We tend to be our true, authentic selves. And I get that. Believe me, I feel it. However, Cam Newton knows that his words are going to carry weight. And if he doesn't realize that, then someone in his camp needs to remind him of that. Okay.
But it wasn't like he was just spouting off. You know what I mean? JB said this is how I feel.
Get what you're saying, John.
You know what I mean?
I do. But I'm looking at this, and this is me saying to Cam Newton, bruh, you already know the world don't like you. Okay? Now you're gonna be your true authentic self. Okay? But please understand, every action you make, there's going to be a reaction, and that reaction may prevent you from remaining in the NFL. That reaction may prevent you from an endorsement. So it's one of those things where, as black men, and in Cam's case, as a black NFL quarterback, you have to know that every room you walk into, no matter whether the interview was done by a black man, a white woman, an Asian transgender, it doesn't matter. They are looking for a reason to not let you back in to do what you love to do, which is be a quarterback and play the game of football.
But
they're gonna blow it up like they've been doing. Because once again, if you listen to the whole clip, he didn't say all women.
Right.
He didn't say, African American women, Latino women, white women. He just said there's bad bitches that act such a way.
You just like saying bad bitches.
Because it was a great quote. To me, that was the quotable part. I look at it as humor, and we all have different things we like. He likes a woman that will get out of the way, that takes care of him, caters to him. That's his thing. It's all good. He didn't say all women were bad. That never came out of his mouth. But the media, unfortunately, is going to blow things up. And unfortunately, Cam's African American, and unfortunately, the media climate is, we don't want those guys in the league. We don't want them playing quarterback. Think how many years it took to have as many African American quarterbacks as we have now. Growing up, when Randall Cunningham was playing quarterback back in the day for the Eagles, it was like, wow, Randall Cunningham was playing quarterback. The Eagles are never going to do anything good. They can't do that. Now that's kind of done. Now we have that issue with coaching, which hopefully gets resolved eventually. But, they're going to go after you. And do you see it? It's horrible because he didn't say anything that bad.
Right.
Look on Twitter today. I didn't listen to the comments until just now. But to me, there was nothing he said that was out there that to bother this man about it. But, sit down interview. I like what Eric said. That show, obviously, African-American host, it looks like it's a very urban type show. That type of relaxed atmosphere, hanging out with one of the guys. Kind of like if somebody came on our show, they'd be hanging out with us. If they'll let their guard down, they'll talk freely. If the wrong person hears it, they're going to blow it up, and then you got to deal with all this.
Right. Now, here's the rest of it, because I did find, John, what you were saying. So here's the rest of it that I'm gonna bring in so that y'all can see it. So let me just go ahead and play this.
My queen.
No, I ain't saying like that yet.
But I'm also gonna also tell the men to start being men, bro.
Absolutely.
That sucker shit should not be rewarded.
And what sucker shit? So
when a person carries himself social media wise, and it's a fraud in real life.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's more to every person that got money, or every person who's rich isn't a real one.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that gets kind of misconstrued in this society now, because a lot of people have money, but they're not genuine people,
Right.
And I pride myself, everybody who knows me knows, like, bro, Cam's a solid dude. He keeps his circle extremely small. I'm not afraid to be by myself. Quick example.
All right, let me go ahead and, so like you said, he did go on to explain, and he did, but he also spoke about men as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Eric, is nobody, like, whenever I first heard this the other day, I did not hear anybody mention about how he did bring up men as well. I only heard people talk, like JB said, about how, how he demeaned women, how people just, that's immediately what they said, and all these people were attacking him. And it's like, did you listen to everything he said, or did you just hear what you wanted to hear and you went to social media to post and attack him? Like, is that what you did? Because that's what it seemed like happened.
Easy to attack somebody when you don't have all the information.
Of course.
And, even just the first clip, if you listen to the whole clip, rather than letting somebody else make up your mind for you, he did not demean all women. Was it the best thing in the world that he could have said? By far not. But whatever. Much to do about nothing.
Okay.
And
John, it looks like you were right, sir, because with 12 seconds left, unless the game is over, I've got 12 seconds left. Brooklyn is up by 5.
6,
so
yeah.
Oh, okay. So they just made a free throw.
Just before we get off this topic, give me more of that, Cam Newton. Like, I really enjoyed that. If that's how he talks, I would like to listen to him more. I thought it was really fascinating. I thought it was really interesting when he was talking in those clips. And as media, like, as people in general, we complain about how these athletes and coaches are robots. And then as soon as they're real with us and we see this, we attack them. Well, what do you want? You know what I mean? Like, you complain because they give you generic answers in a press conference when you ask them something, but then they give you this, and then you complain. Well, what do you want?
It's a joke. It really is. Unfortunately, this was blown out of proportion. If you listen, first of all, just listening to the first clip rather than just hearing what whoever tweeted or whatever newspaper article you read that didn't give you the whole quote. If you made up your mind before that, you should be ashamed of yourself. Listen to what the man said and then make up your own opinion. If you think that that's what he said after that, do me a favor, don't talk to me, because I got nothing to say to you.
Facts. All right, fellas, we got about 5 minutes left here tonight on Sideline Sports. What else we going to get into for these last 5 minutes? Because tomorrow night, it's going to get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. The Sports Arena is having a 2-on-1 handicap match. We've got Jon Shearer and the man that he has co-signed with, Dom DeRubius from the Gauntlet Podcast, coming on the Sports Arena to face your man, Eric Wilson. So this is going to be a very interesting, spirited conversation tomorrow.
Good luck. Eric, I'll be praying for you all night.
I just
Man,
want to
man,
let you know that, I am my own man tomorrow. I don't want anything Dom says when if you destroy Dom, I don't want it to be attached that you won the handicap match. This is 3 people entering a cage match. We just happen to be. You see a 3-man fight in a WWE match, AEW match. Guess what? Typically, 2 people go after one guy. That's how you typically do it. It's just Dom and I are going to go after you. We're going to attack you the whole show. And but make no mistake about it. If you take out Dom, it doesn't count as taking me out. You have to take me. You have to cut my head off. You can't cut Dom's head off and just say you beat John. You have to cut my head off, and that's not easy to do because,
challenge accepted, John. And listen, as a man who is never afraid of wanting all the smoke, let me just say this. Tomorrow night is truly we are going to re-energize the crowd and remind people that even though off these beautiful cameras, we do love and respect each other. But tomorrow night, when we step into the sports arena, it is truly a triple threat, and it is every man for himself. So I
I'll
hear
be
you.
getting the popcorn ready to watch this.
I hear you, John. I understand where you're coming from, but only one of us can come out of this the victor. And when you step into my world, which you have been a part of for many, many shows, you already know that once you poke me and you get under my skin, then the gloves come off.
Once I'm in your head, you mean it's over.
Right.
I'm
See,
already
right
in your
now,
head.
for the past month, you and Dom DeRubius have been living rent-free in my head because I just heard some of the outlandish stuff that both of you have said. And I'm just like, how is no one stepping up and saying, you 2 fools need a reality check?
I just want to
So
let
I
it be
guess
known that I'm not afraid to stab Dom in the back if I have to tomorrow to take you out. No offense, Dom. We're on the same team tomorrow going after Eric, but triple threat match. I'm not afraid to stab you in the back if I have to take Eric out. I like to win the game.
All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. The program, Mr. JB Ellis, man. Let everybody know who you are, what you do, and they should already know by now watching this great show, but let them know where they can find you, my brother.
JB _ the program on Twitter. You got the NBA Carousel Monday night, playoffs starting. We got Sideline Sports Tuesday, South Florida Tribune Wednesday. Everywhere else, sports is happening all over the place. John?
Yeah, I'm just eating my elite Easter candy, my peeps. See my Dunkin' Donuts, peeps. I just want to make sure let that be known because Tyler Ingram called me, or he's the candy police. Peeps are an elite Easter candy. I said it last night. I'm going to say it again. They're number 1.
No.
Jelly beans are number 2. I don't care about this promoting myself. I want to make sure Easter's coming. You eat your peeps. Just like Hulk Hogan says, say your prayers and eat your vitamins. You eat your peeps and say your prayers. I'm done.
So shout out to Jake Malik for letting me take over tonight. As you know, listen, you can see across the bottom here, Instagram and Twitter at Sideline Sports 1, YouTube and Facebook, Sideline Sports, DBNA Television, Quantum Star. I'm going to do my best impression of Jake here. You can follow us on all social media. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TikTok, you name it, we're there. Sideline Sports, to quote our man JB, we are the fans' version of the 4-letter network ESPN. We will talk to you guys next week. John and I will see you, shameless plug, once again tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Heat game 1 Sunday, baby, on Easter.
No,
it's going to be like this as you remove John.
Thank you.
Tomorrow night.
Thank you. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Everybody, have a blessed week. Hug your loved ones, and we thank you all very much, and we'll talk to you soon.